I'm the wife of Norman Marshall, who was the manager of the zoo. He was so delighted to do that because he was in his element here. He absolutely loved it. He loved the animals, he loved dealing with people, and there was no problem whatsoever with him. He loved it. Of course, it was very much smaller then than it is now, but it was very successful, very popular with the people around here. They had loads of local people, the visitors during the summer, absolutely loved it. And I can see now that it's developed into that much bigger. You have more animals, and you have that lovely college,
yes,
which I imagine is very successful. Well, this is the whole point, because there are so many people now that are interested in this sort of thing, the conservation of animals and the care of them, and I think that that is something that is very, very good that you started here, and I imagine it's very busy. He didn't start as a penny, he started as a zookeeper. He was out of work, he'd been ill and he lost his job, and he worked for the council for a season, and when he finished that, the advert came up for zookeepers, and he applied straight away and got the job, and he absolutely loved it. And Peter Lowe was here then, obviously, and he and Peter got on like a house on fire. They really did. We used to see them socially as well. And when he decided to leave, my husband put in for, because my husband didn't have the education to be a curator, but they were quite happy for him to be a manager. So that's what he took over. And he worked 12 hours a day. It opened at 9 in the morning and closed at 8 o'clock at night. But he was here making sure all the animals were right, comfortable, had food and drink, everything. And he never ever got home until between 9 and 10 o'clock at night. That's how, you know...
Long day.
Yes, it is a long day. But that's how he loved it. It was not work to him. He just absolutely loved everything about it. If there was an animal that the mother had rejected, he couldn't bear to see the poor thing. He would feed it during the day, but then he would bring it home during the night, and we had a spare room downstairs that we used like an office, and he put a little cage in there, and he used to feed it on and off during the night, and that went on for maybe 2 or 3 weeks until he brought it back here and tried to sort out the mother, but by then everything seemed to be all right. But he did that with loads of animals. Yes, he absolutely loved it. There's one story I've got to tell you about a chimp. He absolutely loved. There was a row. I don't even know where it is now.
That big monkey walk along there.
Well, that's where it was.
Yeah.
There was a monkey walk, chimps they were. And there was one chimp that he was absolutely mad about. And he used to cuddle him, pick him up, cuddle him. Anyway, one day, the damn thing got out while he was feeding the rest of them. And he went running right down the path to the main road. And he nearly went mad. He went chasing after him. And he was going, oh, what was his name? I can't remember his name now. And he was calling his name. He said, Dad's calling you. Dad's come back to Dad. Come back. And he was shouting, and people were looking at him, you know, what's going on? Anyway, just before he got to the main road, he must have been probably scared with the cars going by. And he turned around, and Norman went, come to Dad, come on to Dad. And he turned around, and he gave one jump and came panting back and jumped right into his arms. My husband nearly fell over. But he was so glad that he had done that, because he was absolutely terrified that he was going to go in the road and be killed. And he came back, and of course it never happened again. He made sure it never happened again. But I'll never ever forget that. Never ever. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. There was another time when in the tropical house he was trying to look after an alligator, and I don't know what happened, I know, they were trying to move him. I think he was going to another zoo, and he was trying to move him into the van or the thing that they were going to take him in. Well, of course, the alligator didn't want to move, and he bit my husband in the arm. And I thought, well, everyone thought he was going to die because it was so poisonous. Anyway, someone very quickly phoned an ambulance and got him over to Talisk, and fortunately after about 2 weeks his arm was all right. He wouldn't stand back from any animal. Doesn't matter whether it was a dangerous one or what. With the lions, he used to go in the lions and just talk to them. He just used to go in there. And with the chimps and with the bears, he used to go in with them. It was a job. It wasn't a job to him. It was just something that he absolutely adored doing. He was taken ill. He had heart problems, and I can't remember the exact, but it was 1986 that he went up to London Hospital, and when he came back he had to finish here. So it was round about that time. Hello!
The next generation of zookeepers.
Yes, she'd love it, she will. Now, I wouldn't be at all surprised. So it was probably 86 that he eventually, 86 or 87, he eventually had to finish because he couldn't come back. He was only 60. No, he wasn't, he was 50-something because he died when he was 60. And he lasted about 5 years after his operation.
Biggest difference walking around now than when you were sort of working here in the 70s and the 80s with your husband? What would you say the biggest difference in the...
Well, I haven't been all around it now, but I would say all the trees, all the expanse of the extensions that you must have had here.
It's
because
twice
it was
as big as, the 6 acres.
It must be 2 or 3 times as big. It's got to be. It's got, because all you had really was, as you came in, you had the main path, you had the monkey walk, you had the fields on the other with birds and all different things there, but that was only a very small area. And then you went up by the lions, and then you went up around there, up the top there, and it was, what was
Camels, rheas,
that's right, the camels and the bears.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was something else over the other side. I can't remember what it was, but it's got to be 3 or 4 times bigger than it was. It's got to be. Well, it's lovely. It's very nice. Very nostalgic for me.